Good morning, guys. Welcome back to O'Neill Family Farms. Today we are starting pivots. We didn't get any rain over the weekend and we're kind of getting a little bit drier, so we're gonna starting up some of our pivots today. Maybe start laying out some pipe, just depends on how things go with the pivots. So yeah, Irrigation 2020 is kind of starting to engage for us here on the farm, so if you want to tag along, you can, and we'll see kind of how we do stuff like that. By the way, I can't find my old, if you notice, I haven't found my regular sunglasses for a while, so I'm going off these. Do they make me look more sophisticated or kind of like a fly? Haven't determined that yet. You can comment below, it's free country. But right now I'm heading to the shop. I got to get some drip oil, which most of our wells, you use drip oil to lubricate the shafts that go down into the well, the pump shafts. So got to have that to get started. Heading to the shop to get some supplies for what I might need to get these puppies started. So for those of you that aren't from Nebraska, that trailer hooked up is kind of a dreaded sign. Manual labor. Can't get around it. Let's see, I think it's the one labeled drip oil. I think we'll go with that. The first pivot I'm going to start out on is the one we vertical tilled up here, if you've seen my last videos a few back. This one sits just inside Custer County. We're actually right on the line. This dirt road that we're going to come up onto is the actual county line. So for those of you kind of familiar with the area, that's kind of where we're at. On the south side of Custer County, on the north side of Dawson. This one is a TNL pivot. It's a hydraulically driven pivot. So I'll have to go to the end tower and kind of adjust the speed where I want it to be. I haven't made a pivot road yet, so I'll be running over some corn when I go into this field, because it's grown since we've been out here with sprayers and stuff, so I'm pretty sure yeah, there's no road. Let's just park here. This is just kind of on an M&M road, minimum maintenance. A little dewy this morning. That's okay, we'll take it. This one's got a big old power line. It's always kind of eerie. I don't know if you can pick up the sound, but you can hear the electricity running. Always thought it'd be a thrill to have like a rope line or a zip line go across there. You know, if they shut the power off, even though you wouldn't get electrocuted. Just in my mind, it would be better. That'd be a way to pay for electric, wouldn't it? Have zip line rides on electric lines. You heard it here first, folks. It's my idea. Looks like we're getting decent weed control from the spray. All right, here's your end tower, but I'm gonna slow it down. So one thing about these, you kind of go off a tire size. The bigger they are, the taller the tires, the faster it's gonna go, so you kind of got to set accordingly. It's the only thing, maybe a small setback about some of these TNLs that just have the end is, it's a slight guess, but you kind of know from years before where it needs to be. I think I'm gonna start out there. 6 3/4 ish. I do have AgSense monitoring on this, so that kind of helps me tell about how fast it's going as well. So, oh yeah, I need to make sure it's going the right direction too. I want it to go forward. Forward on a pivot is clockwise. Every pivot has its pros and cons. The pros of TNLs is it's more gentle, probably on your gearboxes, just because it's a continuous flow. These never start and stop like electric pivots. An electric pivot will have a center drive, and I'll show you here maybe later in the year. What these do is each tower sets its own speed because it's driven by a valve at each tower. So once you start it, these will always flow. This one will be faster than that next one, and down the line it'll just get slower and slower. Where an electric pivot will just start, stop, start, stop. And up there, everything is hydraulically controlled on these pivots. So there's like hydraulic valves that turn off and on your end guns. And this one doesn't have it, but for your end guns, we call that sprinkler right up there the end gun. I mean, for obvious reasons, it's on the end and it's a big gun. That's actually the name of it. It says big gun right on it. Some of those will be equipped with called booster pumps to get a little bit more pressure, to get a little more distance out of them. This one's not equipped with it. My brother's got a couple, I think, that might be equipped with it. So those booster pumps actually will be run off of hydraulics as well. That's all driven from a pump clear at the center point. So that's kind of impressive how they do all that with the hydraulics and systems. And so that would probably be some of the benefits. Some of the drawbacks is, on this one, you have to control it at the end tower. Now they do make controls that you can control them at the center point, but it's an added feature, and to add it now is a little more expensive than if you were to add it when you bought it new. This one's, I think, a 2004 model. It really hasn't given us any trouble. The only time is I've had a leak at the center point. Just a hose was vibrating and it caused a leak. That's kind of your biggest issues, is hydraulics will leak sometime, somewhere. I guess we just like pivots that work. We're not really stuck on one brand. So it's kind of whatever turns out to be the best value, we feel, when we get to it. But we're not pivot experts by any means, so the pivot guys will all like to debate each other, so you know who I'm talking about. We just want them to work, go in a circle. Air smells so fresh this morning. I love it. Sometimes people ask the question, I'm not big into like camping or like so-called outdoors things. This is kind of the reason why is I get to do this every day. So not that stuff isn't fun, I do it randomly, but I'm not what you would say an avid camper or outdoors even. I consider my job kind of that way, so maybe some of you farmers can relate. Some farmers still do like to do that stuff. Man, nothing beats that morning dew smell. How the camera's picking that up because it's spinning really fast, but it doesn't look like it the way the frames per second are. So right now you'll kind of notice it leaking, but once it pressures up, it'll kind of seal up a lot better. On a TNL, this is how your end gun is ran to know where it's shut off. Because say it comes over there to that road, you don't want that end gun spraying on a road. So right here you got shutoffs and a roller wheel right there. That'll come around on those black things, lift up, and that'll kill that valve there on that end gun, allowing it to shut off so whenever you get roads going by. Right now I'm just waiting for it to pressure up. It's about halfway. And then make sure everything looks good and go to the next pivot. There she goes. Gun's working and everything. Looks like it should be good, so we'll go to the next pivot.
No control expected in these public power districts: Custer, Dawson, Howard Greeley, Loup Valleys, McCook, Norris, Perennial, South Central, Southern, Southwest, and Twin Valleys. Again, code green in these public power districts: Custer, Dawson, Howard Greeley, Loup Valleys, McCook, Norris, Perennial, South Central, Southern, Southwest, and in Twin Valleys.
So what you just heard there is on these electric pivots that are powered by electric motors, when it gets hot in the summer season, like during the peak hours use of the day, like say everybody's got their air conditioners on and businesses are using a lot of power during the peak service times, well, they actually got little controllers on each electric well. Depending on what subscription or what service you sign up for, they'll actually control it during the day, meaning they'll shut you off during those peak hours, and so they're not using quite so much electricity during those hours, so they can kind of maintain that curve better. So I think every one of these electric wells actually has one of those on. Now you can kind of pay more if you only want to get controlled 3 days a week or 2 days. I can't remember exactly what days service plans there was, but anytime control is the cheapest form. That means they can control you any time of the week, kind of maintain their electricity curve that way. Oh yeah. So I'm in an area where we got quite a few fields, and all these will be electric. And the reason why is because it's got good access to a lot of three-phase line. A lot of these motors require three-phase 480 volts to be able to run these motors efficiently. Some can run off a single phase, it's just not as efficient. That's why we have some engines still in some locations. And so that kind of hopefully describes why some of these are electric and some of these aren't. Because to be able to drag a three-phase line to your well is really expensive nowadays. And so that's why a lot of these ones that are still motors because of just the cost. We got some birds here that kind of chose a bad spot for real estate. I don't know about you, but like I don't hate birds, but when they look like that, they're kind of disgusting. Okay, Mom. Assuming. I don't think she likes me here. I think we're set right. Yep, that one's closed. Assuming that's Mom. Okay, we're gonna want to do the south pivot. Turn it on auto. Gonna torque off the birds. So this is a Valley panel box. It's kind of a somewhat basic one too. This pivot over here is actually an older Lockwood, but they put a Valley panel box and alignment boxes on it. They don't make Lockwoods anymore. Kind of their downfall, I think, was kind of the electrical on it. So a lot of those got updated with some kind of other pivots control system, but the structures were still fine, so they're still a lot in use. Happy Thanksgiving. The turkey, if you can see it. Right, coming up in here is, make sure that's on auto. Turn the power on. This is a Valley, but it's the older style box when they're still red. Turn the power on. We're gonna go forward. This one's got a little delay, but it's gonna turn this motor on here pretty soon, in theory. That's the way it should work. So if you see right here, what auto restart is, it goes back to that being controlled by the power district. Instead of us coming out here every time they shut it off and then turn it back on, these pivots will actually kick themselves back on if they have that feature. It's something you got to put on it. So it definitely helps us out, because especially during the hot days, sometimes they don't turn them on until 10 o'clock at night or 11 if it's really hot out. Kind of like to have that feature. It's worth its weight in gold. I don't think it costs much to put that in there. There she goes. You can even see the one I just started over there in the distance. Looks like everything's sealed up, should be good. So we're even starting pivots on our beans right now, and they don't need the moisture quite so much right now. We're doing it more or less just to activate the chemical and the residual chemical right now. But just to kind of show you, we do put pre's out here, but you still get these escapes of water hemp and other hard to control Roundup resistant weeds. So this is what dicamba is doing to these weeds right now. So we get escapes like this. There's actually a thick old patch down that way, but I don't want to put that on camera. But what happens is we can't really control those with anything but like a dicamba or an enlist. That's kind of why we need those to be effective in raising large amounts of soybeans. You can tell some of the comments, some people obviously aren't happy, and I'm sure I got some thumbs down because of it. And one of them made the comment of, yeah, go ahead, you know, nobody else's plants are important. I'm not ever saying that. What I am saying though is we need to come up with better solutions to make everything work. We're all in this kind of world together, and we need to make it work instead of just an all or nothing approach for one certain group. And so just sitting down, having conversations, what's going to work in localized areas, I think is the solution to this problem. And so that's kind of my stance on that, is like, I don't want to tell everybody exactly what to do, but we need to kind of work this out together, I think. I like this one because he's right next to the road. Pivot's clear out there. I'll get this one started. Nothing. He's a red panel one, and we'll get him going. Waiting for it to pressure up, and then I'll go to the next. Hope nobody comes by, because I don't want to look like a high school or college kid out here working. Panel box is not the latest version of Valley or Zomatics. Okay, so this is kind of what they look like. These will require you to have pressure, meaning it won't let you engage the pivot until it knows it's got enough pressure in it. So we should turn that on. That actually flipped the motor on. You can hear it. There's an air vent kind of shooting out air. That's what you hear. We're gonna run them fairly fast though. Like I said, we're just activating more or less chemical on these while giving them a small drink of water. But once this lights up, this pressure, then I will be able to engage it. See, you don't hear any click. Sometimes when they're about 50, 70% full, they'll show pressure. So hopefully soon this guy will be showing pressure. There it goes. Now we can engage it. Alignment interlocked means we're moving forward. I have it set to go fairly fast for tall tires on this one, but that's what we want. And then this start to run, this is letting us start up in startup mode, letting it pressure up, and then when we flip it over to run, it kicks all the safeties in. So if something happens out there, it should shut off your well. And we do want the auto restart feature on some of these. So as you can see, everybody kind of has slightly different ideas on how to do their panel box. So this guy we're starting here is a pretty old Ranky. He's probably mid-70s. For those of you who kind of understand pivots, a lot of them will have stiffeners right here. This one doesn't have it, so that kind of ages it. She just pressured up. You can hear that. Let's go engage her. So yeah guys, I think I'm going to call it on this video here. Just because for time's sake, but we got plenty more irrigating going on. I just really appreciate you guys stopping in and watching us, and will be plenty more irrigating for us to show and things to do. So thanks for watching guys. Catch you later.